We're building a new house. I first built it on Unreal Engine, but that's another video. I thought it'd be awesome to get a time lapse of the whole build, so I've put a camera on the build site. The camera is a Wisecam Outdoor V2. It detects movement, records a little clip, and uploads it to the cloud. It's great because I'll get notifications saying there's been movement on site, and I get to see, oh, today they've done this, today they've done that. The only problem with the camera/service is that there's no easier way to get the clips in bulk to be able to edit them together. Because I want to make a time lapse, obviously I need to get all those videos. You can do it manually one by one through the phone app by going into the clip and going download. So far, there's been over 3,000 clips recorded, and I don't have time for that. I'm a software developer, so that means two things. I'm very lazy, and I'll also go to a lot of effort to save myself a small amount of time. I had a look around for an API for the Wisecam/service, and I found one on NPM, WiseNode. It had a couple features, but it didn't have the ability to list video events or download the videos. I did a bit of snooping around on the network tools on their website and noticed which API calls they were making to retrieve the list of events, and saw that those events had links to S3 or KVS resources. So I wrote a bit of code that would stream those videos down, run them through FFmpeg, and encode them to MKVs. I've got about 3,000 videos so far, and initially I thought it'd be smart to just encode the timestamp in milliseconds since epoch into the file name, which in hindsight was smart. But then I had an even smarter idea, which was I'll change all the file names of my thousands of videos to a human readable format. So in a demonstration of great hubris, I wrote a script that would rename all of my files. And as you may have expected, I screwed up the implementation and messed up all the time zones. Surprise, surprise. And yeah, I lost all of the accurate timestamps for all 3,000 files. Like I said, I'm a software developer. I've been writing software for 14 years. I know all about timestamps. I know how much of a pain in the ass they can be. But I have an excuse as to how I screwed it up. I'm very dumb. So I fixed the implementation, and I also grabbed the latest video clips, which was even dumber because now I had some clips in the wrong format and some clips in the right format. And also, in fixing it, I added a new bug where PM times would be bumped into the previous day for some reason. So now I had 3 sets of date formats across 3,000 files. If you know anything about time lapses, one of the features of a time lapse that I think makes them good is when the clips are in order. So yeah, that was a problem because there was no metadata because I was the one streaming the files through an encoder. All the timestamps, or at least some of the timestamps, at least thousands of the timestamps were wrong. The data was gone. The data was wiped off the servers, so I couldn't re-download the videos. But there was one thing that had the data, and that is the video itself. It has a timestamp down in the bottom right corner. So I could manually watch every clip, grab the timestamp, rename the file. But like I said, there's 3,000 files. And if it took me 30 seconds to do each video, hypothetically, just calculating this in my head, that'd be 35 hours straight of renaming files. And as I said, I'm a software developer, so I'm very lazy, and I'm overconfident in my ability to write software to solve my problems. So in another example of great hubris, I decided a smart idea would be to use OCR to read automatically the timestamp out of the file and rename all the files. Okay, so what do I need to do to achieve this task? 1. List all my bad video files. All the files I needed were MKVs with the format of bad timestamp to bad timestamp. That's easy enough. Just lob all files in the folder that are MKVs with the pattern of something to something. Step 2, take a screenshot of each video with the timestamp showing. Problem is, the videos don't start with the timestamp visible. The timestamp shows up a couple hundred milliseconds after the video starts, so I had to skip ahead a little bit and then take the screenshot. For this sort of stuff, I could just look at the documentation for how to do this with FFmpeg, because I know that it can do it. But the problem is that documentation's almost always wrong and terrible, so I'll just ask ChatGPT. I can grab a frame from an MKV in Node.js, install it, call the screenshots function. You pretty much just copy paste that straight from ChatGPT into your file and done. 3, crop the screenshot to just the timestamp. So, knowing that Sharp is a pretty commonly used library to do image manipulation in Node, I just asked ChatGPT, how can I crop an image with Sharp? Gotta say, ChatGPT, damn, it is so dumb, but it is so useful. So So I took the important parts, and to figure out the how to get just the bottom right where my timestamp was, rather than thinking with my brain, I thought with my ChatGPT and said, hey, I wanted it from the bottom right. And it's like, yeah, idiot, just use maths. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're here for. You're a computer. 4. Feed the image to Tesseract.js. Tesseract.js is a JavaScript library that gets words in almost any language out of images. You give it a really clean image like this with black on white background, and it figures out the words it's in. I don't have clean images like this. My timestamps are garbage with garbage behind them. It's it's going to be a challenge. 5. Pass the text to a date. Okay, this is going to be the really hard part. What you do is you take the OCR result, grab its data, grab the text out of that, trim it, and then pass it to new date. Oh, okay, that was a hard one. Okay, next step. 6. Change the file name of the video. Alright, so a couple hours later, we now have a piece of software that will read OCR timestamps out of my videos. I guess I just run this and sit back and do nothing at all. Great. Just sit back and relax and let the software do its job. Okay, this isn't working. 0% success rate. Let's have a look at what the images look like. That's a timestamp. Looks like a timestamp to me. Yep. Uh-oh. That may be slightly difficult for an OCR program to parse. So the problem is that the timestamps have a variable background, and in fact the timestamps themselves aren't pure white. So you can't just say, give me just all pixels that are 255, because not even all the pixels inside the timestamp, which is supposed to be white, are actually white. So you just get even more garbage. And the background could be different depending on the conditions, depending on if there's a car on site, depending on all kinds of different things. So I needed some kind of technique that can work for as many videos as possible. I settled on a combination of resizing the image, which apparently is much better for OCR, applying a median filter, which kind of takes the average of different pixels and groups them up, and a threshold to cut out all the highs and lows of the image. I also noticed that different images would need different combinations of these processes, so I threw a couple together and just reduced through them until I found a match. Alright, this is looking much better. Still a couple of failures though, so we can have a look at those and figure out what's wrong with them. Okay, you can see we've got all of our processes here. Some of them looking actually not too bad, but there's a lot of garbage in between the characters that we don't really need. So let's get rid of that. I made a mask image, which only really allowed through pixels wherever the characters should be, and also added back in the characters that I knew were never going to change. This was as easy as compositing the mask image over the original process file. Okay, let's stop it there. This process is actually doing better than the last one, despite the smaller number, because I've let it go through more of them. But it's also getting through some of the harder ones to a much better degree. It still seems to have issues with little blobby bits on the picture. It just seems to not like if there's any other pixels outside of the characters that it can't understand. I mean, look at this. It's never going to get that one. Like this here, you would think it would be able to get that, but no, apparently not. At this stage, I had something like a 99% success rate, and so yeah, there wasn't too much left to do. Only a few of them would fail. Not really that many, maybe like up to 100 left over. Definitely not worth writing extra code to. At this stage, I was done with thinking, so I asked ChatGPT, how can I use Sharp.js to find groups of adjacent pixels with the same value, calculate their contiguous area, and if they're smaller than X, replace them with a different color. Now, it gave me something that was code. However, I did actually have to spend quite a bit of time fixing it to make it, 1, work, and 2, be fit for purpose. It now deblobs it and removes those little blobs, and you're left with something much more readable. So what will all that extra effort give me? 99% success rate. That is very, very good. We've only got a maximum of 50 total videos that need to be renamed manually out of, I don't know how many, but something like 3,500 total. So the next video should be a time lapse of our build.